Greetings from Newburyport.
Ah,
Okay.
Nice.
good.
Right, and I see Tom stare. Tom, would you give a wave? He is our wins editor for the coming year, so if you've got an interesting story, something you want to share, he's the man. All right, Craig, why don't you say hello while you're there?
Hello,
Craig is-
while I'm there.
He's an administrator. Maybe you can pull Frank forward for me, Craig?
Frank, forward, please. Oh, you're in
I was
trouble.
looking at pictures.
She's, she wants to.
So far, I don't have video.
Something wrong.
Okay, who's that?
Alan.
Ellen,
Madam
I just
Madam
wanted to
Commodore.
introduce you
To people who don't know you, Frank
Okay.
is our Commodore. So he has agreed to sign on for another year, like Barbara and Tom, and Craig, so thank you. All right, is Anne present, Craig?
Here.
Where is Ann? Oh,
I'm
there's
here.
Ann.
I'm right here. So,
Come
hello.
say Anne is
Anne.
our recording secretary.
Mhm.
Tough job. She keeps very accurate notes. Thank you, Anne.
I don't know about that, but I try.
And I'm going to introduce Susan, and I'm going to give Susan the floor for a minute to talk about the party. And she is FC Social along with Michelle Tang, who I do not see present at the current time. We know that Michelle is on vacation, so hopefully she's having fun. You have the floor, Susan.
Hi, everyone. Just a reminder that the holiday party is happening on the 12th of December. It's a Sunday, 12 to 4 at Venetia Restaurant in Dorchester. I just sent around an email. It should be in your inbox with how to register. And if you're on the Zoom, I put the link in the chat bar. So if you have any questions, let me know. You can send me an email.
Thank you. I believe Daryl is in the room. He is our new admin for safety and seamanship. There he is. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. Not present tonight are David Dines, our treasurer. Jack LeBlanc is oversees membership. Our past Commodore Russ Vickers and Chris Shea. His picture's here. He'll probably be joining us late. He is FC meetings, and we also have Peg Palmer, who is our quarter mistress. And I apologize if I've missed anyone. So we're here to talk about cruising. There was an email not too long ago sent out by one of the members, kind of got a lot of responses, how to charter a boat and so forth, and where and why. And so I'm actually going to ask Anne to come forward again, because we actually went together through a meetup. I can't remember Greg's last name. Nice guy, excellent captain. We were his first crew. He was trying to get a business off the ground, is kind of what he explained to
Did I
us.
do something here?
Yes.
Default.
So I was just saying how Ann and how you and I went off on a cruise to the BVIs. My first mistake is I made too many assumptions. So I heard Ann and our captain Greg were on the same flight out of Logan. I didn't pay attention to any other information because I was going to be a puppy dog and just follow the two of them to the boat. Well, I don't even remember where we flew into. Well, Greg had a different connection.
Flew into Puerto Rico, and that's where,
we added and so forth. Well, he had a different connecting flight than Ann and I.
yes.
So guess what? How many
He didn't tell
marinas?
us where we were supposed to go.
I think we went to 3 marinas before we found the group and the boat. Needless to say, we were a little grouchy. I would use that word hangry, so that was what not to do. And then of course my cell phone was sporadic, so you make these assumptions that you'll be able to communicate with people, and that was not the case whatsoever.
I think he organizes these trips, and I think he still does. I occasionally get an email from him, and he does different locations down in the Caribbean. But I think we were his inaugural trip. So I think he didn't know a lot of what to tell people. So, I mean, he just wasn't, I don't think he was very organized that first trip. So that would be what I would say.
Right.
I don't know why we're not seeing anything.
Oh, really? You're not seeing the group? Do you have it on
Well,
speaker?
I put it on speaker view, but even I'm not being seen.
Hey, put it back on gallery.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I can see you.
I see you.
I know, but no, it's just everybody else can't see in the room here.
I can't get
Um,
my
And I think
face
we should
on here either.
realize, maybe he didn't even know where the boat was gonna be because Anne tried to commission, get supplies and stuff ahead of time. People kind of said what they were gonna bring, were very organized, but you could never contact the store because we didn't know where that boat was gonna be. And he also was taking. So it wasn't like a reputable charter company, or at least not one that you've kind of heard about. Hello, Hope. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I actually can see everybody but you, Ellen.
I know I don't have a video that's working.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody.
Yep. So do you want to share any other stories, Ian, from that?
Well, I think the only thing that I mean, like I said, I'm sorry, what was his name? Greg that organized it. He got the boat through some sort of a, wasn't one of the charter groups down in BVI. It was some sort of broker that was doing it. And I think we got an older boat, which is, okay, you can get it cheaper, I think. But when you ran into problems, and we ran into a few problems, it would have been nice to have somebody to call. And I think the contact that for this broker that was on BVI didn't know anything about boats. So, I mean, she was pretty much useless. So I think when you're on vacation, you kind of just, things happen, but you would like to have a resource that you can contact that, the big thing was the breaker for the anchor. Windlass, and we blew the fuse and we couldn't figure out where the breaker was. It wasn't with the other breakers. How many times do we haul that anchor up by hand? So, and then we found the breaker, and after that it was fine, but it was just, those are little things that, you just don't really need that on your vacation. You're in a strange boat to begin with. And it just, if you had somebody, a contact person that you could call to ask some, sometimes some stupid questions, but they're important at the time. But, if you just had somebody that, or even in BVI, if you ran into an issue, I don't think there's any, port that's more than, if they took a motorboat, an hour away by motorboat. So they could have had somebody there if you really ran into some trouble or difficulty. But anyway, that would be my only kind of word of wisdom from that.
All right. Well, Alex, are you ready if I hand off to you, or?
Oh, would you like me to go after Hope? So I know Hope's our visitor.
I think we talked about that she would like to wrap up. And
Okay.
Well, it's up to you guys. I just thought that if you all talk about issues that you have or questions you have, then I can address them
yeah,
better
so-
if I hear you first, but I can, I think that's probably the smarter thing. I have a few thoughts just from listening to Anne right now.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm going to mute myself and let you take over, Alex. And
Okay.
I'll ask Hope to kind of wrap. And of course, if other people have stories they want to share, if you could just send me a chat so I know to call on you, that would be great.
Okay. Can someone confirm if I'm sharing successfully?
Yes.
Yes, you are, Alex.
Yes,
Okay. I'll keep this fairly short and slow me down if I go too fast, especially as I want to give Hope plenty of time to chat, as she's the professional, I'm not. So sailing the BVI. I've sailed the BVI, I think probably now 8 or 9 times. I have to admit, I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite places to sail and to charter. I will, by means of the first disclaimer here, say that I have not been there since 2017, since Irma. Carol and I are waiting for things to get rebuilt. We learned that places like Saba Rock, which is one of our favorites, is just starting to rebuild and maybe open. But last year when we inquired, we were still told many of the places hadn't rebuilt or there wasn't whatever. So whatever I tell you today, and Hope may have much more current data than I do, put that through the filter, that some of the data I give you may be out of date. So a quick overview of what I thought I'd go through, and this will literally take us 10 minutes or so, depending on questions. Traveling to the BVI, I'll talk about that and the issue that was just brought up. Chartering a boat, provisioning, overview of the area, sailing to the USVI, an important point, some recommendation, and then some do's and don'ts. And I'm glad to take questions or take them at the end. So getting there, there's two choices that I'm aware of. One is to fly to St. John's, but you have to then get a ferry into Tortola, which is our preferred route. You get a direct flight out of the States straight to St. John's, USVI, and then get a ferry to Tortola, noting that you have to go through customs because you're going to a different country from US to Britain. The other way, which it sounds like Ellen went with a friend, you can fly direct to Tortola, but you have to stop over in Puerto Rico. And since the change of flights there, I always consider you're getting onto a small plane to get from Puerto Rico to Tortola. It's only a half hour half flight or something. Those changeovers are always risky, so we will often stay the night and just have a meal and enjoy it, and avoid the risk of getting in, just as you miss the flight. A note at the bottom: no airline that I'm aware of allows PFD cartridges to be put on board, even in baggage. And we have not found anywhere that sold cartridges for PFDs in the BVI or USVI. Not to say they don't, but you'd think someone would be buying PFDs, but we couldn't find any when we asked around. And foam PFDs are provided by most reputable charter companies, but frankly, you rarely see anyone wearing them. We certainly didn't. It was a little too hot, a little too uncomfortable. A quick overview of the area. Obviously, we can't go into detail here, but this is the BVI as it's called. And I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but the USVI is down in this level. Went too far, sorry. I can get, there we are. USVI is down here, and there's some other islands that disappear off the screen. There's St. John, which I'm circling here, which is the USVI, which you fly into. There's St. Thomas. Here's Tortola. And just about where that tide gauge is where the town is that you charter out of, for most of the boats anyway. There are other charters along there, and I'll do a close-up of this in a minute. You've got little islands like Jos Van Dyke, which is a great place to go. Virgin Gorda is always a good target, and right in here, I'll do a quick zoom into this area here in a bit, where Sabarok is. And then a lot of people like to make it out to Anegada. That's Anegada. That's the big trip, really, because it's up to 30, 40 miles offshore. We want to make sure the conditions are good. I was told that was totally destroyed in the hurricane because it is so low. I mean, it's just above the sea level. So I have no idea what's left and if it's still open or whether there's anything there. One point on this chart I'd like to make is most of the area here, if you look at the contours, are talking in terms of tens of feet, maybe 60 feet or so, you'll notice. However, I suggest you don't try and anchor on the southeast side of the BVI because there you're going to have an anchor chain more like 5,000 feet deep. So it's quite an impressive drop off there, if you notice. That blew me away first time I saw it. This is called the Drake's Channel, where I'm running my cursor right now. Someone's just come on. Can you go on mute, whoever just joined? That's it. So this is Drake's Channel. You can see all these tiny little islands along here. All of those at least used to have individual either little bars that were on the beach made of driftwood practically. Some of them would have restaurants. Some of them had, one has a very nice, very expensive resort where the mega yachts go. But these are all the little islands you can pop from, and they're all literally, as you can see here, Drake's Channel's pretty much, I call it 10 miles across, roughly, if that gives you a scale. So you can see these are all within very, very short distance of each other. And you can choose to decide how much you want to sail around or how much you just want to sit and party and go from place to place. So chartering a boat, just a couple of comments. Chartering is a major business in the BVI, and there's several choices of the charter companies. Our own preferences, and this sort of supports a little bit of what Ellen said, is our choice is the moorings, and that is the sort of the top of the line charter company. Their boats are only up to 2 years old, I think. I don't think it's 3. And then they bought Sunsail about 10 years ago, or which was a competitor. And so the 2-year-old boats then go down to Sunsail, and you can charter them there at a discounted price. Sunsail and the moorings are in the same harbor now, so you go to the same facility. It's a fantastic facility. Used to be, again, I've got a quote from several years ago. Sorry to keep repeating that. But you go in, there's a reception desk, there's a fabulous bar and restaurant overlooking the water, and you really feel spoiled. Yes, you are paying the dollars for it. But in our case, if we're going to put the investment to going down there, we want to enjoy the experience. So we found that a fantastic way to do it. We did try some other charter companies. We found one at the Newport Boat Show that was claimed to be a lot cheaper. And we thought, wow, you know, we could save almost, it seemed like sort of 30% off the price of the mooring. So we said, let's try it. Well, the hidden thing in there was all the additional things that came in the moorings included in the price were all add-ons. So by the time we added everything on that we actually needed for the charter, it ended up being about the same. And their office was a tiny little hole in the wall, so up some creaky stairs. The boats were in pretty bad condition, and we certainly wouldn't be using them again. You can charter power boats or sailboats. Catamarans now dominate the market. So if you're looking for a monohull, they are tough to get. The last time we tried to look for a monohull, we were very lucky to get one of the last ones that were available. They literally had only 3 or 4, and we managed to get one. But don't go down there thinking you're going to have your pick of monohulls at least. Typically, boats are returned on either Friday night by the more cautious sailor. They have to be in by Saturday. It's your deadline. It's Saturday to Saturday, unless you make other arrangements. Sometimes they'll be flexible and you can book additional days. But broadly speaking, most people go from Saturday to Saturday. So since the boats have to be in first thing in the morning, many people, such as us, for example, will go in Friday night, or we'll go to a very nearby anchorage in one of the islands that's very close, a half-hour away. For Friday night, so we can get there by the prescribed time, which I think is something like 9 or 10 in the morning. And the reason for that is the boats are then cleaned and turned around and sent out again. And so notice that you're not going to be able to pick up your boat on the Saturday you get there till after midday. And that can be very frustrating. You've got there, you've traveled a long way, you're all excited to go, and suddenly they say, oh, sorry, no, you can't get your boat till sort of maybe 2 in the afternoon. There are ways around that. You can pay for an extra day and get the boat early, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. You can even stay on the boat overnight. But those are all details you have to sort out. I thought about the first stop. We like to stop at Soper's Hole, which is very close. It's about in typical conditions, it's sort of like a 1-hour sail. And the thing is, it's still on the main island of Tortola. And so when we're shaking down the boat and seeing what's wrong, if their issues are found, although as I think Ellen mentioned, or someone mentioned, that you can get a power boat can come out to you very quickly. That's another thing I should mention is Moorings has very good service. They have power boats and such like that will come and rescue or tell you. They've also got phone numbers you can call for, you know, where's that breaker that I couldn't find. But if you stay on Tortola as we do the first night, typically, then they can just drive over. It's a 15-minute drive for them. And that's had to be done a few times. One occasion, for example, they forgot to put in the nav chip. So when I fired up the navigation, I realized that we've got no charts in there. Now, had I done a better pre-boat check, I would have caught that, but I'm embarrassed to say I didn't. Most chartering companies provide a daily briefing, which is mandatory for first-time charterers, and I do recommend it. It tells you the place to watch the reefs and so on. Provisioning. Charter companies offer provisioning services, and they'll give you a huge menu. You can put everything you want on there, and they'll put it on your boat. So when you get on your boat, everything is there. It is expensive, and the choices are limited, of course. But for the very heavy things like maybe water or your booze, beer, Coke, something like that, we've often gone with that. But for food and such like, our preference is to go to the local supermarket, if it still exists, and get what we need and then get a taxi to carry it back. There are very few places, even when we went there, where provisions can be bought outside Tortola. One is Spanish Town, and then there's another one up at the top of it. But typically we eat at the local bar anyway, so we don't tend to get a lot of provisioning. Bars and restaurants. So here's a typical bar and restaurant, Pusser's Bar. They're very popular around there. This is in Soper's Hole, probably our first morning there or first night, either way. Can't quite tell from the picture. And absolutely delightful place. I'm going to skip through some pictures just so you get a sense of it. One of the delights of the BVI is being able to explore beaches like this on your own. You get a dinghy provided. Notice the sailboats in the back of the moorings. You cannot anchor in the coral reefs for damaging the coral, but there are plenty of moorings around in places like this. And so you just grab a mooring. The moorings are all free and marked very well. There are many bars open, obviously late into the night, and full moon beach parties are very popular. Of the full moon, they use it for an excuse once a month to have a big party sort of thing, festive atmosphere, and they'll often have those big firing metal frames outside and get huge bonfires going. One of our favorite stops, Saba Rock. Picture there, the hotel now has been rebuilt. That is an old photograph. I have no idea what the new one looks like. But essentially it's at the very top, north east of Drake's Channel. And this is Limerick Bay here, Liverick Bay rather. Saba Rock is actually right here where my cursor is literally just a rock. It's that big. It's about half an acre, I think, as a hotel with about 12 rooms, and it used to have a wonderful little restaurant and bar. Nothing fancy, but delightful. Plenty of moorings around it. You also have then the Bitter End Yacht Club, which is the high-end yacht club of the area. That was totally decimated in the hurricane, and we talked to the Bitter End Yacht Club just a month or two ago at the Newport Boat Show, and they are opening up this season, coming season. They have got a few cabins open, but not everything the way it was. One useful link I put in the presentation is the moorings in the BVI. And with that, I've done. I hope that wasn't too hurried for anyone. Any questions before I hand over to Hope?
Thank
Gosh,
you,
I have so many comments.
Hope, I'd like to introduce one of your clients. Andy and Liz are online with us.
What's Alex? Alex, I've talked to you too, Alex Collier.
I thought we had Hope. Yes, a couple of years ago, I think.
Yep.
I remember that. I thought I recognized your
New
name.
England, yes. Yes. And Andy and Liz, hi.
Hey, Hope, how are you?
Where are you guys?
We're in Peter Island down the BVI's as we speak.
Oh my goodness. So Peter Island, the resort is not rebuilt. What is there?
It's kind of a rough day down here, so we're just sort of at Great Harbor, just out of the weather for a day. So it's still, everything's still closed down here. But Alex, I thought you did a nice job. I'm a new member. I don't think I anyone, and I was talking with Ellen, and she was nice enough to say, if we were interested in having someone speak to you and Hope, we've used Hope for brokers and charters, both in New England as well as here in the BVI's for, I think, Hope 25 years.
Probably.
And our experience is similar. It's been a while, but it's been great. And in fact, we just chartered a boat up in New England from Hope last year, and last summer, and it's been a good experience. I think, there are a bunch of good companies down here. I would say if a good broker makes a difference because they'll take care of you. And our experience has been good to, working with Hope, and so we pretty much use her for all of our stuff. I don't know if you want to add anything or.
No,
Andy, in this, sorry, could I ask a question? How much is rebuilt? We put off going down this year. We thought we might try next year.
Well, so they're rebuilding. There's some harbors that just look like they did a year ago, but Anegada is definitely back. Potter's is going, Flash of Beauty, everything out there is open. Saba Rock, we were just there. It is vastly updated and open. I'd say the Bitter End is starting to open. It looks like they've got like a couple buildings built and the docks, but they've got a ways to go. But everything else is open. Yost is open. I mean, Hope, you just got back from being down here too, so I'll defer to you on everything else. But from my perspective, I think they're ready for business. That's my perspective.
And what about mask requirements and vaccinations and all that stuff?
I can tell you about all that.
I don't think it's too bad. I mean, so we just went through it. We flew into Beef Island because getting on the ferry and going through all that right now is because they've got limited ferry schedules, and it just was easier. And getting here, going through the process, you have to get tested before you come down. You have to have a test when you get here, an antigen test. I thought it was fairly straightforward and not a big deal. And actually, I thought it was quicker than it used to be. Just, I mean, especially coming in by plane versus the ferry, it was a lot quicker. You agree?
This is
I agree.
the,
So Hope, I don't know. I'll let you. You're really the expert. I just thought I'd make a few.
Yeah, but you're
comments.
there. You're there.
Well,
So let me introduce Hope. I got her name from Andy. This is Hope Swift. She
Buddy.
is, charter cruisings. I didn't realize you actually did local charters as well. So that's a great resource. And
Yes.
she's just here to kind of show us the ropes. Thank you, Hope.
Yeah, so I guess I'll sort of follow, I'm gonna kind of follow along Alex's comments because there's a lot of things that are different since 2017. And that's, were you there, Alex? The hurricane, the terrible, devastating hurricane was in the fall. When were you there in 17?
In the spring. We always typically go in about March or April before it gets too hot, but when it's nice and warm.
Well, now I went down there in 2017, and after that, the hurricane just was unbelievable. There weren't any palm trees left. Soper's Hole was a black hole. Cane Garden Bay was a black hole. Bitter End was devastating. I mean, it was unbelievable. And but I remember thinking, the water, the sky, the sand is still so beautiful. I mean, you just can't get around it. But since then, I've been there every year since then, except last year we weren't allowed in the BVI. But I found this year we went, I was in a lot of places, and I found it feeling very much as beautiful as I've ever seen it, actually. This is a great time of year right now. I mean, I was there for 10 days and I think it rained for a total of a half an hour. It's a nice time to go. People don't think about it, but November is a really nice time to go there, by the way. But so many places, I was so impressed, as you're saying, Saba Rock is brand new and wonderful. Their Bitter End is really, as Andy said, is a long way to go. It was surprisingly not completed from what I heard in Annapolis show from John Glenn. It was not as completed as I had expected. And it's weird, it's different. It's very sort of, all the buildings are sort of, I felt like I was in a Vermont ski lodge almost. It's very, very woody, very different than it was, but it will come back and it's gonna be kind of going, they're all saying Christmas that they're gonna be back. Everybody is saying by December 20th will be great. Saba Rock was wonderful. There's this new place that's fantastic called Oil Nut Bay, which is on, once you go through that pass there where all the kiteboarders are, and you've got North Sound on your right, Bitter End, Leverett Bay, and Saba. You go out into Eustachia Sound, which is incredible snorkeling. And then in the corner there, they've got this Oil Nut Bay and this new marina with a restaurant called Nova, and it's fabulous, really fun, really fun. And then the other spots, Cane Garden Bay is completely more back than I would like. It's so commercial there, and it's filled with things there, but it's fun. I guess it's fun.
How was Spanish Town?
I didn't go to Spanish Town.
Oh, okay.
But I have no idea about Spanish Town. But Spanish Town, I mean, I never want to go there particularly except to shop or to get fuel or to get water. But Spanish Town's a good place to stop and park and go to the baths by land if you don't feel like going outside of the baths, or going to Maya, Coco Maya, seeing Virgin Gorda. It's a good place to kind of park yourself, very protected. But I don't usually go there much, so I can't tell you much about that. Maybe Liz can, or Alex, but and the baths are of course the same, and Hooper Island is there, same. Norman Island, pirates, and the hiking, and the Indians, they've all totally there. And We're out Soper's Hole. Soper's Hole was really took a long time to come back, but it's really quite back. It's got a nice harbor market. You can do a good provisioning redo there. Nice little cafe. Pussers is not. Pussers was under construction. It's not there yet. Pussers, that nice picture you showed, Alex, on the Marina Wharf there. That's the only section that's not up and running yet, but it will be soon, like by Christmas. Really, everybody's got this target of Christmas to have everything running. But Peter Island is not going on. A lot of the Keneal Bay is not rebuilt in the U.S. islands. But the BVI, I mean,
we're gonna give. Can we give a little update? So Andrew and I are here in the BVIs, and honestly, we've had such great experience working with Hope. She's taught us so much about this area, and we just happen to be down here now. And we did go into Spanish Town because we had a couple who were with us for 2 weeks. We're down here for a month, and so we had a couple with us for 2 weeks. And they had to go into Spanish Town to get their COVID test. And it was really easy. We went in there, dropped them off at the dock. They walked up the hill, got their test, came back, and we went off on our way. But that was easy. And we weren't sure that was going to be easy.
Yeah.
What else?
Hope, do you want to talk about like the different charter companies? Because I think Alex's comments about the moorings were true. I'll tell you, I mean, we've had good experiences with TMM, and I mean, there are a couple of companies now that I think are pretty darn close to where they were.
And honestly, Hope, you've always been really helpful with us, because I always thought just the moorings, but you introduced us to Sunsail, TMM, and I think the Catamaran Company, and there was a couple others. And you were also, we've always done bareboat, the two of us, because we like to bring friends on and that sort of thing. But you also have a great resource for captains. So if people want to be captains, I mean, I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. I do crew. There's sort of different, there's bareboat, there's captain on a bareboat, there's a captain and a cook a la carte on a bareboat. And then there's a crew that's a couple that's really, then it's like their home, their world, and they have all the toys, and they have a relationship that's part of the joy. But gosh, there's so many things I want to tell you. I want to go back to vaccinations because and COVID tests, because there's so much to tell you. Wow. And how the ways to get in and out of the island. But companies, the moorings at Sunsail is great, but they're always good. I've seen them every year for 35 years. They're always clean and really good. They're great. They actually have boats, the exclusive is brand new, then 1 to 3 years old, and then they have a club line, which is 3 to 5 years old, actually. And their boats are always, I trust them, even if their boats are the oldest level, which some companies I wouldn't book anything older than 2019 because they don't maintain their boats. But they've got some great boats, but you got to stick with the 2021s. So it's so hard to say. I personally, I'm old fashioned. I have a wooden, I don't have a wooden boat, but I have a 1966 boat, and I like some other boats than just plastic Benettos and Chinots. And moorings is great, but it's a little bit like a lot. It's a little bit cattle drive. It's so busy, and it's like a village. There's so many boats. There's all the Sunsail boats, all the moorings boats, and all the moorings power boats. A lot of activity. And actually, I'd prefer to go to Nanny Key Resort, which is quiet. I'd rather come into West End, where there's like chickens running around in the at the ferry place, and quiet, and go to Soper's Hole and take a voyage charter, or go to Nanny Key Resort, which has a beach and a beach bar and a pool, and it's just chill. There's a lot of different, literally cool companies that are smaller And TMM, like you said, the TMM, for example, doesn't have any bays. They just have docks and an office, but their boats are incredible. They have two, I think you took a 2016, Andy and Liz, and it was nice, right? Cool change.
I think we did I'm not sure what year the boat was, but I know you know that stuff. We were here last in 2019. It was a TMM boat right out of Road Town, and you recommended it, Hope. It was great, and we weren't sure because we'd always done the like mooring sun sail and that, and it was a great boat.
And it was older. It was a 2016, but I would never, like I just went and saw TMM, and they have a 2017 cat, and I specifically went and looked at it because I thought, oh God, that's just way too old. It was beautiful. I trust that company to have. They have standards. They have a track record. I trust them explicitly. Whereas somebody else, Dream, say, they were my last choice, and I wouldn't touch anything older than 2021 because I know the deal. I know their maintenance situation. So, it's really tricky to keep up with all the different companies, what time they start, what's included, how they price it. So it looks cheaper, but it really isn't when you add all the extras. So it's confusing, and it's confusing for me. It's like a full-time job to keep up with what they do, what their rules are when you come in. But you can start. Some boats start at noon. Mooring starts at noon. Horizon starts at noon. Some start at noon, and some start at 5:30. So, some companies squish you, so you really only have 5 days because you come in at 5:30 and you get out at 11. Really only have 5 days, as opposed to noon to noon, and you really have 6+ days. So there's all these little nuances that it's just nice to know about before you go. But and the pricing thing, and then the traveling thing. Alex mentioned coming into St. John, but the flights are into St. Thomas, and you can fly into St. Thomas and ferry over, and it's not too bad. The ferry schedules were actually increasing. They're putting more ferries out probably than you experienced, Andy and Liz, and pretty nice. You can take JetBlue has a nonstop 3.5 hour nonstop, and it's painless. I mean, they're ready to start down when you feel like you haven't even begun the flight. You just come in there. You don't need a passport. It's very easy. And then you have to when you go to the BVI, you have to do it then and there. So you have to do it somewhere. But a lot of people are chartering just in the USVI right now because they just don't want to deal, even though the COVID requirements are very easy in the BVI, they just either don't want to deal with it, or they have an unvaccinated person or something like that. So there's a lot of just USVI charters happening. And a lot of companies, almost all the companies put some boats over in the US because of last year, you couldn't sail in the BVI at all. So now you kind of have to choose. You fly into St. Thomas and do St. Thomas because there's no back and forth right now. They're not allowing US boats to go to BVI or BVI boats to go to US, or it's just so complicated by the time you get in there and do all that testing. So you choose US or BVI for now, but it'll probably change. So that'll probably change. I don't know what else to tell you. Do you want me to tell you a little bit about the COVID testing thing? What do people want to know about? Do you want to know about what the protocols are, or do you want to just talk about itineraries, or what would you?
I'd like to know when I should start planning. Is this something I should look at 2 or 3 months out? This is Ellen, sorry. Should I be looking at next fall, a year from springtime, or can you do something 2 or 3 months out?
Well, the thing is, people cancel. The thing is, this year's weird. It's an anomaly because we have charters. I have charters who booked with me in 2019 who are just chartering now because of COVID. They chartered, and the companies were incredible. The companies let them reschedule within 12 months, then they let them reschedule again. They've been incredibly supportive. And so I have people that are just going to go this spring that booked in 19. That's pretty weird. So this year, a lot of weeks were booked before the year even, they were already pre-booked by reschedules. It was an anomaly of a year. Next year will be much more open, but you still can call, people cancel. There's always cancellations. So if you're last minute, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Pretty much Christmas, New Year's, Easter, and school vacations, you gotta plan early to get the good choice. You want your top choice. You don't want to be getting the last, like, when somebody calls me last minute and I have to give them options that I don't really like, it's really upsetting for me because I can't give them a good experience. So the best experience is really a year, anywhere from a year before to 8 months before, certainly 6 months before, or I don't know, you can do 3 or 4 months before. But the earlier you do it, the more options you have for picking the nicest company, the best boat that works for you. And there's
could you comment on monohull versus catamaran today?
Yeah, there's not that many monohulls. BVA Yacht Charters has a lot. BVA Yacht Charters, another wonderful company. I was just so impressed there. BVA Yacht Charters has a lot of monohulls, and they're beautiful. I love that company. Horizon has some beautiful monohulls. Moorings and Sunsail have monohulls. There's still monohulls to be had for sure. It's probably a third monohulls and 2/3 cats now.
So I might just add a few things. So, there's the business down here is to get a cat, a big, good sized cat, and put 4 couples on it. And it's, and so you go through it, that kind of group, and that's fun. But if you're down here for a longer period of time, or you want to have less people on the boat, that can be kind of expensive. So my wife and I kind of like to travel with maybe 1 or 2 other couples instead of a big group. So we've gone to the catamaran route for a smaller boat, like we're on a 39 right now with a friend's boat. But so we tried the monohulls, bigger monohull, and put 3 couples on it, and it's got enough room. It just comes down to cost. Right now, the monohulls are a lot less expensive than the cat, and that's what we found.
And also, just to Hope's point, planning early is pretty critical. Every time we've done trips, it's better to plan early so you have your choice. We've already lined up a charter with Hope for next August.
Yeah, out of Newport. So
And you have to consider the airplanes, right? Sorry, the air flights. We found, I don't know now after COVID, but getting a ticket for us, years ago was really tough unless you booked way ahead.
That's a good point. Our kids are coming in tomorrow from Boston into St. Thomas, and then coming over, and our flight for them was, how much did you say?
Well, it was $400 round trip, but we booked it back in January when the world was, dead. So
And
I think you got to plan a year in advance easy.
you do, and also we flew into Beef Island because I didn't want to do the ferry thing this year, and our flight was pretty reasonable into Beef Island.
It was about 800 to go to Beef Island,
round
seven
trip.
or 800 round trip.
But that was well planned out,
Did you go via San Juan?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was 2 hops. We had to go through Newark, and then San Juan, but frankly, that's easier than going and taking the ferry, in my opinion, from St. Thomas. We've just had,
It might be a
we've had
little more
bad luck on the
expensive.
ferry there.
Might be a little bit more expensive, but might be well worth
Or
it.
making a flight, you got to leave so far in advance on the ferry because you never know if the ferry's even going to leave. So it's just more predictable.
Oh, and you know what you just reminded me of? I booked myself. I'm so sick of being freaked out that I'm going to miss something or running through an airport. I gave myself big layovers, and I was so happy I did that because the plane sits there for an hour and it's late, and you don't care because you got 3 hours layover. I really recommend really giving yourself cushions, but leaving an island to go to another island, cushions to get a cab to the airport, and just some layovers that are enough so that the flights can be late and you're not going to panic and have a heart attack.
Could I try that, Hope? So someone like San Juan, where I've never been to before, we just stayed the night, went the next day as an opportunity to be a tourist,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can get a good flight and stay 2 nights now. It's the least expensive way to do it because I looked at it for my kids. But that was a bit ridiculous. So.
Well, you're right, Liz and Andy. The flights were so cheap for a while because nobody wanted to go. Now that they realize people are going, they have jacked them up. And you know, the Christmas, New Year's. If you want to go Christmas, New Year's, you got to do a year in advance. It's just ridiculous. The flights are big. And another reason why you want to book early is because they usually 6 months before. If you're 6 months out, you get an early booking discount of like 10%. It's considerable, and that's worth it. Why not?
We look in May. We like May and November.
Beautiful.
And it's just, it gets crowded in December, January, February. November's the off-season rate. You know, you're past the hurricane season. We've been down here a bunch of times, never had an issue. And then May is, you know, another time that you get the off discount rate. And frankly, it gets crowded down here. I mean, people fight over mooring balls. It can be kind of weird.
That's
However,
not-
there's now Bodie Ball, and there's a couple other companies where you can reserve your mooring ball before you get there. So that's
Tell us about Bodie Ball. How does it work? Because that's interesting.
well, is Bodie Ball also in New England?
Yeah.
No,
they
that's
use
Aqua.
Aqua, that's right. So, you know, once upon a time down here, when you would go into a harbor, they have just, you know, a fixed number of moorings and it's first come, first serve. Now they have this company called Bodie Ball. There's also one called bviball.com. And like we're on one of those tonight. And you use your phone to pay for your mooring before you even get there. So there's no race to the finish. You can you can have a mooring ball before you get there, so that you don't have to end up running around trying to find another location. It's good. I like that you pay $10 more than if you were just to do a first come, first serve, but sometimes that's a peace of mind. You might be able to get a little snorkeling in before getting to the mooring too early. So I think that works really well. And Dockwall we used up in New England this summer.
We used it quite a bit up in New England. I mean, Nantucket and Edgartown. I mean, you guys probably use it. I thought that was the better of all the apps to use so far for that.
Oh, it's great, but I have to say personally, the old days, you just have the fun of cruising as you sail in and you get a mooring, and it's this business of you getting into a harbor and finding out that they're already pre-booked would really upset me.
I know I think that's hard to get used to, but
I'd rather have a
kind of,
place to be.
you know, it was great to get to Saba Rock. We chose our mooring and we were right next to Saba Rock. Very fun time up there. We had a great mooring ball and we didn't have to rush to the finish. So
yeah,
agree
it's
with you.
great for the person that has it, but it's kind of sad. It's kind of a new world way of cruising.
You're right. I agree with you.
Well, that's why November and May are better because there's a lot of empty ball. You know, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, when it's really busy, that business, when you're sitting there and people are circling around you like a hawk, waiting for you to leave your mooring so they can grab it. It's just not that relaxing. So I really recommend going in a non-busy time and, you know, maybe go somewhere else. It's not only the BVI, there's other places to go. Like if you want to go Christmas, New Year's, you can go to Belize or you can go to the Bahamas in April. And you don't have to, there's other places than BVI and USVI if you want to go in a busy time to avoid that bottleneck.
Hope, do you want to share with everyone what it takes to qualify to do that? I mean, it's a lot easier than I think a lot of people think.
Yes, well, in New England, it's difficult because it's really tricky up here. So getting accepted up here is very different. Down there, really and truly, it's so easy because it's line of sight, and you really can't get into trouble. So it's pretty easy to get accepted if you've had any kind of experience with sailboats or power boats, whichever you're using. My problem is when I get power boaters who want to take a sailing cat and they've never sailed, but they're really good with twin screws and they think they are fine. But you know, the companies want you to have experience just handling sailboats, anchoring and If you've owned a boat, that's a real plus. And if there's two of you are coming who are good sailors, that's a plus. You have to be pretty pathetic not to get accepted in the Caribbean. But there are some companies that, like Dream, will take anyone, and that's why their boats their boats are not in good shape. They don't care who they get. So some people are strict. TMM is very strict. Remember, you had to jump through a lot of hoops for them. They're very strict about everything, and their boats are perfect. It's beautiful, and it's worth it. It's worth it to have a company that really looks and really cares.
Might be worth mentioning before, in at least the moorings, I haven't got experience with others. They actually send a diver down to check your boat when you check in again, and you don't get your deposit until the diver's given you an all clear that you haven't grounded it or done something under the waterline.
And that's nice to know for you, because if somebody did it before you, they did it with them too. You're not going to get blamed for somebody else's issue.
Right.
The companies that dive it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. So you're having funky weather down there?
It's just been it's been squalling ever since we've been talking to you guys. It's just a weird couple days. It's been really windy.
Windy.
Oh.
2020. Yeah, the next week looks good.
We don't feel very sorry for you. We're stuck up here. Oh,
Great day. It was lots of fun in the BVI's.
where are you now? Oh, Peter Island.
We're on
We're
Peter
just on
Island.
Peter.
We were originally going to come down here and sail over to the Spanish islands. That was the plan, but COVID made that too difficult. So we're going to stay here.
Oh, that reminds me, a lot of people who are quote unquote stuck in the US because they booked US boats and they're not allowed to come over are doing
Right.
St. Croix. A lot of my clients are doing St. Croix, crude and bareboat. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hope, I have a question. This is Grant Brandon.
Okay.
Hi, how are you? My wife and I have been sailing for 40 some odd years, maybe 50, maybe longer, who knows? We own a CNC 41 and we go cruising all over New England, and we're racers and all sorts of stuff. So we have a pretty good sense of monohulls, not necessarily cats. Can you just share with us one of the comments that Andy and Liz made was that, and possibly you did as well, is that there was a pricing difference between chartering a monohull, a 40-footer or a 50-footer or whatever it is, versus chartering a let's say a 40 or 50-foot cat. What's the percentage? I don't need the details, but I mean, is it a 10% difference or is it much greater?
I'm looking at, I printed out one company's. I mean, I work with 15 companies, so they're so different from one to the next. But for example, BVIR charters, I happen to have because they list their boats, all their boats, in a way that I can look at quickly. And I want to mention, there's a lot of smaller cats. There's Lucia 40s and Lagoon 380s. If they're just a couple, if you're just one or two couples, there are smaller cats and they're fine. But let's look at a 40-foot, let's say a 419 Jeanneau, or here's an Oceanus 40, and it's a 21. And then there's seasons. They go from 3,400 to 4,750, depending on what season you're going. That's a 40-footer monohull, 3 cabins. And a 40-foot cat is 55 to 73.
Oh, okay.
Big difference.
Right.
Or 48 to 68, but that's
So to Andy's point, if he goes in May and November, which is off season, it would be on that lower end of that spectrum. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yep, and it's they're different. They all have different cutoff dates, the companies, but generally after the holiday period in January is a nice shoulder time, up until the beginning of February. That last couple of weeks of January is a great time to go, and then May, the 1st of May to July 9th is really pretty cheap, and 6 November to 15 December. Those are the cheapies. But you also, then you're also dealing with the rainy season, so you can have rain. Or if you're in hurricane, getting close to hurricane season, that's a little scary, but I've been down there 35 years in a row, and I've had always in November, always the last 10 days. And 3 out of the 35 years I've had rain or a hurricane. So, there's plenty of time. It's a lot of time that you don't get rain in the rainy season, but you do have to realize it's the rainy season and it could rain a couple days.
Right. Right.
But then in the winter, you have Christmas winds and it can blow 25 knots all the time, and that's exhausting. So I think late March through May is just gorgeous. And
Right. That's a sweet spot, I think.
yeah.
And Alex, Alex, you've gone in the spring as well, and you've seemed to enjoy that timeline as well.
But we make an effort to, because we don't have kids, and I feel sorry for those who do, we avoid the school vacations because they're a nightmare,
Right. Right.
both for travel and the boats.
Oh,
Well, our
God,
challenge-
it's
Yeah, our-
night and day to travel when it's not crowded. It's fun. It's lovely. It's relaxed. Or it's
Exactly.
insane. And by the time you get to the boat, you just want to just pack up and slit your throat. So it's better to go. It's better to pick if you can, pick off times.
Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. What else did somebody? Oh, I want to tell you guys about, if you go, is anybody going to go in the next few months? Because there's this, and you, Liz and Andy, I don't know if you know about this, but there's maybe you did it. There's an eMed on you go online, eMed Binax now, and you can buy self-test kits that are accepted when you come back into the States. The biggest annoyance now is that you have to test 3 days prior to returning to the state. It's really not the going to the BVI. That's, it's coming back, and you can buy these Binax kits and then download the app when you're here. Then you go there and you do it from a boat or any place where there's internet, and they proctor you, watch you do the test, watch you put it in the thing, and it turns a certain color. And that's it. They give you the green light, and it's very easy. So there are ways to get tested without going ashore.
Yeah, I mean, we went to Spanish Town with our friends. It was pretty painless. I mean, literally 12-minute walk, walked in at 9:30. They were done by 10. And then there's one out in Anegada. So they're around. The only one I wouldn't go to was Road Town, just because Tortola is kind of a big city and it's a big hospital on the hill, and that process isn't that great. But I think it's
found a
manageable.
great clinic. I found a great clinic in Road Town, a tiny little clinic that was half an hour.
Oh, good.
Ooh, okay, got to share that one with us.
I want to say A&D, BNF, B and F clinic, and that was great. You call them, you make the appointment, you go in, they come out to the sidewalk. I had a cab waiting for me. It's that fast.
Huh.
Okay, that's great.
I wrote it down.
So Hope, here's a question. Why are catamarans so popular?
Because the space is huge. There's fly bridges. The amenities are amazing. For big groups, it's the places for everyone to spill out. And frankly, there's a lot of people that really aren't real sailors at heart. They just want to kind of go around in a box. And if you have people that are afraid of healing, then they're satisfied. And if you've got the kids that are little, or the wife that actually hates sailing, and the husband gets to feel a little bit like he's sailing, or you can get a performance cat like a voyage. It just works for a lot of people, and it's a great platform for diving, for drinking, for eating, for just being with family, and it's just easy. When you pick up your anchor, you don't have to batten down the hatches. You don't have to. You're not gonna. You don't have to put away all your dishes because everything's gonna go flying. It's just so easy. And you can come in close, it's very shallow, so you can come in close to beaches. It's a lot of things about cats
Oh,
that are nice.
just-
But I personally love to sail a monohull, but once you're on a cat, you get pretty spoiled that you don't have to do all those things.
Hope, this is Patty Correa. You just said a word that intrigued me, performance cat. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, there are some performance cats. For example, a Nautatech Open 40, most of the time they have instead of the helms up on a like a bus up on the bulkhead or up on a fly bridge, they're back. They're dual helms like a monohull, and you actually feel like you're sailing a little bit more like you're used to. The Nautatech Open 40 is one, and voyage yachts are really good performance, but they don't have any fly bridges. So they're cheaper because nobody wants a cat without a fly bridge now. Everybody wants to climb up and be up there and have loud. Oh, there's cats now. Well, and without the fly bridge, you've got a much bigger square sail area. Some of the cats, I went to the Annapolis show, and there's this new Bali space, and there is so much. It's so high that the sail's like this big. It's like a handkerchief. So now they're. Those, if you really want to move and you really like, some of the boats have code 0 sails now. They have 3 sails up forward. If you're going with the wind, you can really fly. So there are some cats that are sail better than others. But none of them point better than like 45 degrees.
Yeah, they don't.
They're not as much fun to sail, I don't think. I never thought we'd even be seen on one. But
I know.
Being New Englanders, growing up on monohulls,
I just cover my face. I don't want anybody to know me. But they sail really well downwind. They're not good if you're trying to point anywhere. And it's like bringing your house with you.
It is. You have to
You got
motor
everything
sail
here.
upwind.
Like your kitchen and bedrooms and
and if you have a few couples, you're not climbing over each other. You've got an area in front, people can sit, area in back. If you have a fly bridge, which I'm one of those that likes the fly bridge, it's really delightful. It's very civilized.
Hope, have you seen the latest thing now, which we just saw this week? There are a bunch of couples going on the Voyager. Is it Voyages?
Yeah, out of Soapers.
So now they're chartering rooms out of large, like 60-foot catamarans. So there's 6 couples that have never met getting on this boat and going around for a week.
Yikes.
Yep, I just booked that 590, that Voyage 590 with a private party of 10. And I also booked it with people that want a captain and a cook aboard, and so you could have 8 people. It takes 12 people. It's just unbelievable. You can't believe that it takes 12 people, but it does, and comfortably. And it's got no cockpit, but it's the foredeck it's got all these lounge spaces on the foredeck and up there. But you can put 8 people plus a captain and a cook on that boat. You could have 4 couples and a captain and a cook. I don't know that. Yeah, you could. It's called By the Cabin charters, and a couple companies do it.
So this is Ellen. I'd like to say, surprisingly, the trip I did with Anne, we didn't know anyone. We briefly met Greg in a bar. Signed up for this trip. There were 7 of us all together. We had a rough start because one woman was drunk and we had to help her on the boat. Other than that, we got along marvelously well. I mean, really had fun, enjoyed these people. We actually kept contact for a while afterwards. It kind of fizzled out, but it was a mixed group. 3 of us, besides the captain, really were interested in, manning the hull, like just getting up there and sailing the boat. And the others were there for a vacation, So, I mean, we got plenty of time, but yeah, I mean, really, surprisingly, we got along very, very well. So I wouldn't be adverse to just taking my chance and renting.
Oh, that'd be fun.
But like anyone, it only takes one bad person, Do you know what I mean?
Not
Like,
really, not really, because everybody else can talk about the weird.
well, that's true. That's true.
It brings the rest of you together.
As long as people, relatively behave themselves, you can have a good
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything, but I don't do those really. I don't do them, so I don't know anything. But which company did you do that with?
It was an individual. It wasn't a company.
Oh.
So, and he was, from Boston, and he organized, people from here. And I think he does it still.
Fun.
Yeah.
He's actually trying to get his own company started. I mean, he more or less kind of admitted that to us at some point.
So he was kind of a licensed captain. So I guess that was his, his way of doing it. So he was kind of the captain.
Well, I can tell you right now, there's a real dearth of captains and cooks down there. They need captains, and they don't have enough captains. Like if I booked a Christmas charter right now, I could maybe get a boat, but they're out of captains. They need captains and cooks. It's just like everywhere. They're short-staffed, and which I don't really quite get, but and anybody knows a captain that wants a job. There's a lot of jobs down there.
What other places do you, broker boats for, or, other places?
Pretty much anywhere I'm a moorings and sunsail broker, so anywhere they go, I book. I book Tahiti and St. Martin and St. Bart's and Antigua, Grenadines, Belize, Bahamas, Florida. And I've been sailing in all the areas. So, I think that's important. One thing I find, I go look at all the boats and fleets. I talk to moorings agents who I know the boats better than they do because they're sitting in an office in Clearwater, I think it's important to talk to someone who's sailed in that area because you got prevailing winds and the temperatures and the distances and the feeling and the remoteness or the action. And there's so many aspects that affect, and getting there's so many aspects that affect your experience. It's nice to have somebody that's done that knows the different areas, or at least has colleagues. If I haven't been somewhere, I have colleagues. Now I haven't been to Greece, I've been to Croatia, and I do the Med too. I've done Croatia, I haven't done Greece. So when someone wants to do Greece, I'm a little uncomfortable. I haven't been there, but I've booked a lot of charters there, and I have colleagues that I can call on. So it's important. And I think agents sitting in offices often just they either don't really know the boats, or they really haven't done the sailing, or they're only BVI based. There's just a lot of aspects. Like when people were booking during COVID time, the way companies dealt with COVID issues was really important. Were they reasonable? Like moorings and sunsail were incredible. They just rebooked. Some companies were just very difficult, and they weren't flexible, and they weren't helpful. So there's just so many aspects of all these people. I personally have my name on. It's my reputation. It's my livelihood. So if somebody has a bad time, it's really a problem for me. I don't sleep at night, and then I worry about them, and then they call me all week because the company's not responding. And so to answer, Alex said something about having somebody talk. I had a client call me the other night from a mooring in Saba Rock, and their generator wasn't working. It was their first night out, and they couldn't get a hold. Good old Dream. They couldn't get a hold of the base. All the numbers on the emergency were the message box was full, and so he called me, and I got a hold of the central admin, and they came in the morning and fixed him up. But it's important. It's really nice to have. It's nice to have somebody. Like I book air with a person rather than online. I like having a person who has my back. And then if there's an issue to get you money back, or get you credits for future charters, any of that stuff. That we do all that kind of stuff and flights.
Hope I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Hope I have a question. Do you ever recommend travel insurance? And I know that there are different policies that you can buy should, you book 6 months in advance or 8 months in advance, and all of a sudden, the week of the 10 days or the 2 weeks that you're planning to take your trip, all hell breaks loose. And
Yes, yes, absolutely, I do. I sell it myself. On every email I send from my desktop, it says, click here for trip insurance. Yes, I had a guy, I remember, who had a huge Christmas charter with the moorings. He had a land thing. I do villas, and I had this whole trip, expensive trip. His son-in-law coming from Australia, blah, 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 blah. And he bought cancel for any reason insurance or medical, whatever he bought. And he was putting Christmas lights up on his house and fell off his roof and ended up in the hospital. And he got all his money back. It's really key to get it. And you can buy cancel for any reason insurance, which is expensive, and you only get half back. But you could decide 48 hours out, you just don't feel like going, or it just doesn't work. Or you can get credits usually. Or if you get regular medical insurance, it just pays you back for covered reasons, certain covered reasons, jury duty, all kinds of weird things, weather and flights. And I do recommend it. I really do. There's just no point, at least medical. And actually, currently, to get into the BVI, you have to have medical insurance. You have to buy medical insurance that will cover you getting sick there and getting medvaced out and your quarantine hotel. So they actually require medical insurance right now to go into the BVI, not US.
Okay, so that was a good question then, because we hadn't touched base on that.
Yes, that's a very good question. It's very, very key. And there's all kinds of travel insurance, and it's complicated and it's annoying. And
Insurance is just, it's got your back. Should something change dramatically in your plans, and all of a sudden now you can't make it or whatever, you don't want to have to lose thousands and thousands of dollars because something has changed that you didn't expect.
Yep, absolutely. And if you buy a Travel Guard trip insurance within 10 days of your first deposit, they cover pre-existing medical conditions. So you could have had serious heart issues, and it's certainly something that could come up and prevent your going, but they cover that even though it's an existing problem if you do it quickly.
Well, that's
So
something to look into.
We just went through this process. So there's an Insubuy. There's like 5. They give you like 6 or 7 companies you can buy insurance with. One of them was Insubuy, and then they give you the different policies. It was fairly straightforward. We're here for a month. It was $180 for the 2 of us.
Wow, that's good.
They never checked our documents for insurance.
Never even looked. So.
Yeah, they didn't check mine either, but they say you have to have it. They never check mine either.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were wrestled with whether we should get our kids.
But for 180,
it was cheap.
It's worth
it's cheap, and it actually maybe could be helpful. I mean, instead of doing a quarantine, I'd rather not be here for 14 days. I'd rather go back. So in quarantine. So.
Well,
actually,
it does pay for your quarantine lodging.
We just heard a story. It does cover that, but we just heard a story about a guy who tested negative leaving the U.S. He was the captain of the boat and tested positive coming in.
Oh
and
God!
Put a bracelet on him and took him away for 14 days.
Oh, what happened to the rest of them?
I don't know.
They must have maybe hired a captain.
I don't know what they did.
It was not a good
awful.
story.
I guess it does happen.
Yeah. Oh God.
Hey guys, I'm going to say goodnight, but thank you so much. It was very, very helpful. It was a pleasure to meet you, Hope, and you guys down in the BVIs have a good time. And I echo what Hope said, that we do not feel sorry for you. Okay, have a blast, and we look forward to seeing you another time. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
All right. Are we all saying goodbye, or?
I have one final question. Hurricane Irma destroyed a lot of boats in 2017. And whatever happened to all that broken fiberglass?
It's a really good question. There was so much literally littered. I don't know what they did with it. There's still some boats. There's a couple of boats sunk in Trellis Bay. That was the worst. That was just littered. And don't know what they did with it. It's,
Hope, let me answer that because we just found,
Sure.
we were just in Trellis today.
oh,
They
good.
have a huge machine here and they grind up all of the fiberglass and they use it as fill.
Wow.
So I asked the same question because Trellis was just littered with boats.
And
you
it
know,
looks really nice right
and
now.
it's all cleaned up.
And Soper's Hole, it was lit, it's as if somebody just dumped thousands of boats on top of each other. It was unbelievable. And you would never know it now, right?
Right, it's so sad, but it looks great.
Well,
They're
one
getting-
thing that's not back is Marina Key. Remember Marina Key?
Yeah.
Marina Cay, we were just there. We were just there the other day.
Yeah, we were
too.
there.
It's not
Snorkeling was
back,
great.
right?
Yeah, well,
No, it's not.
Marina Cay is, the Marina Cay part's not. Scrub Island is still going.
Oh, Scrub,
Right.
that's where Dream is. But did you go?
No, we didn't go
No,
over there. We
no.
just, no.
That's where Dream is. It's really fun resort to start your charter with.
Yeah, we've been over there. We might do Thanksgiving there.
But you should check out Nova. I love Nova over on Oil Nut Bay. That's a lot of fun.
Beautiful place, Nova, for sure.
Well, thank you, everybody, and
This
I
is really
hope we
fun.
didn't talk too much.
What a nice idea. Oh, I feel like I talk too much.
No, no, not at all. I just want to remind people, don't forget, we have our holiday party on the 12th. Please register soon. And I really, really appreciate you joining us, Hope. She only
I
called
loved it. Loved it.
yesterday.
Yeah.
She was away, so thrilled that we were able to connect.
Wonderful. Love meeting you all.
I
Love
hope-
seeing
I
you
hope
guys at
get the
Harrington.
phone calls. I did send out your name and address on the chat, so if people want to just write down her phone number.
Good.
for reference. Okay.
All
I
right,
tried
I'm
to share
here.
my screen, but again, it's a Chromebook, so I don't know. It wouldn't let me share your website.
Oh, they didn't?
We can send it out to the phone.
Well, my website isn't anything to write home about. It's from 1997. I don't. It's great for New England, but it doesn't really do much for Caribbean. I have a lot of clients after 35 years that just come back, and so I don't bother with the website, I have to say, but it's a good way to get a hold of me.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you're easy to find because there's Swift charters.
Right.
Exactly. So.
Well, you guys have fun. I'm so jealous.
Take care. Take care, everybody.
Bye,
Night.
everybody.
All right. Good night, guys.
Thank you.
How many people came into Savin Hill? Just curious.
11, there's 11.
11, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys have a easy ride home.
Be
And
easier
thank you
than
for being
listening.
there. All right. Do you have any questions for me?
No, but maybe, I don't know if we didn't see it on the chat, but maybe we can, send out or put it in Wynn's Hope's contact.
I sent it to everyone. It looked like it went through, but yeah, I'm happy to send out a, oh, actually, that's a great idea. Maybe Tom, we'll send it to him and he can share it in the Winds.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Anybody here order an Eldridge? How many times have you ordered it? I think so.